Hey, what's up YouTube? LoftonTcg here, bringing you a post-nationals report, update, and Despia deck profile for what I played for the 2022 North American Nationals. So I'm just going to give kind of a little bit of a rundown of what happened, why my event didn't get to go very well, and we'll move from there. So I started off Thursday theorizing the deck super heavily. But throughout the week, I think it was Sunday when I decided that I'm going to play Despia. I was playing Wasnt for the past couple of weeks, as most of you guys do know, if you follow me on Twitter, and I do like the deck. I love the deck, actually. But one of my buddies said, you're going to be super mad if you don't play Despia and do bad with Wasnt. And I was like, I am going to be. I'm going to be really upset. I would rather do bad with Despia than do bad with Wasnt, because Despia is definitely the deck that I know more, I've been playing the longest, and I've claimed a win with. So I figured I would just play Despia. So I think it was Monday where I started playtesting in person with my friend Charlie. Most of you guys know Charlie as Dragon Duel World Champion. He actually got top 16 at Nationals, so shout out to him. We tested all week. We tested for maybe like 40 hours that week in person, let alone coming home, putting the cards in my hand, and figuring out the theory behind how I'm going to play this deck. And I came to the conclusion that I wanted to play a going second list, probably Monday and Tuesday, and the going second list was actually going pretty well. But it was about Wednesday when I decided that I think there's a better way to play the deck going first. So I opted for going first. Drive up to Chicago on Thursday, and we actually ended up hitting up to Blessing's Local. They had a case tournament there, and I went 5-0 there, winning 5 of my matches, and 5-0 is not too much. Came back to the hotel, played about 6 more matches with people from the hotel room, and went 6-0 in matches. So here I am thinking, it's Thursday night, their deck lists are due Friday at 10 a.m., and my deck's obviously working. The deck doesn't go 11-0 in matches if it's not working. And so, you can't do any more than just submit your list and, pray, because I just can't submit my list past 10 a.m. on Friday. So I submitted my list, and to my knowledge, my deck was working. Fast forward to Saturday at the event, and I obviously have a 2-round bye from winning YCS Bogota, and I'm feeling pretty good about my deck, honestly. The last that I've known, my deck is working, it is performing well. And I stand by this statement. If there were to be another event like the next day that I needed to enter, I would have entered the exact same list, 100%. I don't think there was anything wrong with my list. I think I just got extremely unlucky, and here's why. Round 3, I win the die roll. I'm feeling pretty good. I built my deck to go first, so okay, cool. 41 card list, as consistent as possible. None of these, I didn't play any bricks. Every card is essential to the deck for the format. I open Super Poly, Fallen of Albaz, and Albion. Oh, sorry, not Fallen of Albaz, Brandon in red, and Albion. And I start my turn by activating Albion to send a card to the graveyard and to draw a card. And I drew a card. I drew an unplayable card for my hand, and my opponent goes draw and Lockbird. And I said, all right, cool. Set 2 Super Poly Pass. What does my opponent do? Summons a Live Twin card. If anybody knows anything about Live Twins or Evil Twins, you cannot Super Poly their board. They do not put 2 dark monsters on board. They're a light and a dark, and their link monsters are light and dark. And their big boss monster is a light. So I proceed to just lose. Game 2 was pretty good. I got to win the game 2. My deck decided to give me some playable cards. And then game 3, I opened absolutely just unplayable again. So, awful. Round 4, I opened unplayable again. Just literally there wasn't a combination of cards in my hand that could play. And it wasn't even my opponent was just outplaying me. I just wasn't playing any cards. I literally just didn't play cards. And it wasn't until round 5 I just earned my first win against Virtual World, and I even went second. I lost a die roll, I went second, and my opponent puts up a board of 3 negates. I believe it was Baron, Crystal Wing, and Hot Red. It looked pretty good to me, and I just outed his board completely. And then game 2, he did the same thing, and I outed his board. And I was like, my deck is working. My deck is built to break boards like this. So then round 5, go into it, and my opponent is playing Dragon Link. And I'm like, oh, dude, I've opened Albaz like every single game this tournament so far. So, I mean, whatever. He ends on Borland, the Link monster, the big boss monster, and 2 more negates, and thinking like, this will be easy. My opening 5 are Forbidden Droplet, Forbidden Droplet, Forbidden Droplet, Branded in Red, Ad Libitum, and Instant Fusion. My 6th card was Instant Fusion. Fun fact, my 7th card was Super Poly. So there was no playable way to play that. So I literally just picked my cards up to go to game 2 because I didn't want my opponent to see what I was playing on the off chance he didn't know, and just try to do something going first game 3 or game 2. Game 2 I opened Summon Limits, D-Barrier, Ecclesia, and Branded in Red, I think. Just something that's not relevant. I had to set 2 pass. He opened Rights. And by the way, every one of my Adventurer opponents did open Rights every single game that I played them for the 5 games. So that was fun. Whatever. Not a big deal. But anyway, it was just unplayable. So I dropped from the tournament at round 5 because my deck just completely shit out on me from the beginning. And it was to no fault of my own, really, because what was I supposed to do at the end of Thursday? Like, my deck was working Thursday. Everything was being playable Thursday, and I had no complaints. Like, there was nothing that I would have changed on my deck because as of the last time I picked up my deck, it was working. So I think this is the first tournament experience that I've had that I have actually crafted and played the deck that I wanted to, and it performed extremely well up until the event, and leaving me after the event thinking, wow, there's nothing else I could have done. I mean, like, I could have if you go 20-0 with your deck before a tournament or 30-0 with your deck before a tournament, would you sit there and change any cards in your deck? Absolutely not. You wouldn't. So I just think I lost on variability. So let's just kind of get into the deck and I'll explain some of my choices and we can go from there. All right, so guys, obviously since we're playing Branded Despia, we're going to go with 3 Aluber. So this is a 41 card list. We went double Tragedy because you don't need more than 2 of this card to be playing the game if you're playing the deck successfully. This build is specifically for, in my opinion, somebody that is heavily experienced with the deck and can see lines of play that generally weren't existing with the crutch cards, as I would call them, such as the Patchwork Engine. Because the Patchwork Engine definitely is a good engine, but I do think Despia is at full power and it doesn't need crutch cards like that to succeed. And then the 1 Ad Libitum and 1 Dramaturge. I would never cut Dramaturge. I thought about it 3 or 4 times, honestly, this week, but it comes up in ample situations to turn off special summoned extra deck monsters or to help force a negate. An example, I thought going into this event that I would play mostly Punk Adventure. I thought it would cover about 60% of the playing field, and I was right. I was 100% right about that. So if in the draw phase you get the chance to potentially brand an opening and summon one of these out, your opponent is going to have to force this effect whenever they go to tribute off the Hulk to special TG Wonder Magician to pop their site that's set, because when they summon her, you're going to activate Dramaturge to negate her effect. So as many outs as I can have to force a negate was the key to this deck. And then actually I played 3 Dragon of Keeper Magic, or Keeper of Dragon Magic. This card is absolutely insane in testing, and then every time I did get to see it, it was great. So it gets to when you normal summon this, or a special summon, but that doesn't ever come up. You discard a card for cost and you search a regular fusion spell, i.e. instant fusion or branded fusion or a regular polymerization. Also, you can reveal an extra deck monster and special summon a monster that's listed on it in face down defense position. So that would be, summoning Albaz off of one of the fusion materials. But more importantly, the discard is a cost. So if you are going to discard a Despia monster and you do happen to have a Branded in Red in hand and they go to Impermerveiler this, and you can chain the Branded in Red to get a free material from the graveyard and to proceed to fusion summon and dodge the Impermerveiler, so you'll still be getting your search. Now, why is this important? Important because it searches instant fusion. Why is instant fusion important? Because you play Millenniumize Restrict, which means you can negate Ash Blossom's effect on a branded fusion. Going further into the deck, you can banish Branded Opening from the graveyard at the end phase to protect whatever monster you summoned off of instant fusion. So you are going to have a forced monster negate on your opponent's turn as well with the Mirror Jade if you protected the instant fusion with the Branded Opening. So crazy tons of synergy. And then we move into 3 Fallen of Albaz because it is obviously the heart and soul of the deck. The deck revolves around this card. You would play 3 of this card. I also thought Dragon Link would be somewhat popular, and I was right. It was definitely everywhere. I only had to play 1. I didn't get to really excel with it, but in niche situations against Adventurer Punk as well, Fallen of Albaz and Super Poly breaks the entire Punk Adventurer board. So majority of the time it's going to be Baron, Hulk, Dagda, and Set Scythe. So when you go to set Fallen of Albaz and you have Super Poly, you just set it, and since you're a turn player, you have priority activate effects, quick effects, chain link, or spell speed 2s. You activate Super Poly, and you end up taking either their Baron or their Hulk anyway. In my opinion, you take the Hulk. If you end up taking the Hulk, you get to make the Mirror Jade with Fallen of Albaz in that. You go into the battle phase, and you can choose to attack over the Dagda for damage, and then use Mirror Jade's effect to send Albion to the graveyard, which in turn they're probably going to negate with Baron, and that's totally fine. Even if they don't negate, it doesn't matter, because that will destroy your Mirror Jade, and if you crash into Baron because it's 3,000, it would they would both die, and then at the end phase your Mirror Jade would trigger, and it would blow up your opponent's board at the end phase, and you still get to set off of Albion. So you're not out of the game, and you just broke their entire board with just Fallen of Albaz Super Poly. So my theory going into the event was I got to have Albaz at 3, and I got to have Super Poly at 3 because I want to have the chance to beat the best board that's going around right now. And obviously Super Poly can just take any extra deck monster, so you don't your Fallen of Albaz will always turn into a Mirror Jade at worst case scenario. And then the 1 Albion, because Albion is the upstart of the deck. You search it off of Branded Lost. You want to recycle this as much as possible. So you want to activate the effect, send a Branded Opening or something to the graveyard, put it on the bottom of the deck, draw a card, fusion summon with Branded Lost on the board, then end up searching this. Like you'll fusion summon on your opponent's turn with Branded Red. You'll search this so you can start your turn with an upstart Goblin, and so on. And then I played the 1 Ecclesia as my light target. This card actually did come up in testing a lot. This card was great. This card forces out a negate. This card tutors into Fallen of Albaz without having to use a normal summon. So if you're going second, this can definitely force your opponent to have to make a play before you get into your Eluber or Dragon Keeper or Magic for a normal summon. Or a negate, because you go into this and you special Fallen of Albaz and you want to go take one of their monsters to make your Mirror Jade. Most of the time, if they go to negate that, sometimes you'll have the Branded Fusion follow up or this normal Eluber, and you'll just continue playing like that. And then I played the Springus Kit, and I played Kit for a specific reason, and I will get into that here in a second. Obviously, you play the triple Branded Fusion, and then the triple Branded Opening. And then I went 3 Branded and Red for this event because, like I said, the Keeper of Dragon Magic was gives you a higher chance of having this resolve on turn 1 by being able to dodge, imperm, things like that. And then we play the Branded Lost. You guys know I'll never not play this card. This card says your opponent cannot respond. We all love cards that say your opponent cannot respond. There's zero reason not to play this card. And then I played Branded and High Spirit. Now, the reason why I did actually finally go to an event with this card is because I upped the dragon count in the deck. So Keeper of Dragon Magic is a dragon, 3 Fallen of Albaz, and Albion. That gives me 7 dragons. So what this card essentially says is you can reveal a monster in your extra deck and reveal a monster in your hand of the same type. So you want to reveal Albion from the extra deck, and then you want to reveal one of the dragons in your hand. The extra deck monster sends to the graveyard. Then you can discard the dragon monster from your hand to search a monster from your deck that lists Fallen of Albaz on it. So that 1 searches Springus Kit, or 2 searches Ecclesia as well. But we want to search Springus Kit because Springus Kit can special summon itself if there is a monster in the graveyard or on the field that lists Fallen of Albaz as material. So Albion's in the graveyard, you can just search this. So why is this important? This is important because it helps play around Ash Blossom. Because if you go to grab Branded Fusion off of this or anything, or if you already have Branded Fusion, you want to get Branded Lost, and you activate Branded Lost, and then they go Branded, and you go Branded Fusion, they Ash it, your Albion is already in the graveyard, so you're going to be able to get your Branded in red to the field no matter what. So this was just another way to play around Ash Blossom. And then we're moving on to our non-engine cards, 3 Super Poly. I decided to go with this. Like I said, breaking boards was ideal, and that's just what I wanted to go with. Forbidden Droplet at 3 because, again, breaking boards, wanted to go with it. These cards are great. You can't respond. We want to play more on cards like that. And then I played the 1 instant fusion because it's at 1, the Harpy's Feather Duster, the Foolish Sparrow, and the Call by the Grave. I think these were all mandatory. The Feather Duster obviously for back row hate, and the Mystic Mine hate, which was there quite a bit. And then instant fusion was specifically for Millennium Eyes Restrict. Starting your turns off with that to get Millennium Eyes and then to Branded Fusion, knowing that the only way that's going to be stopped is if they have Imperm in their opening hand, was definitely ideal. And then I ended up playing Branded Banishment because this card was a spot displacer by taking a monster from that your opponent does control. Being a spell card, being able to play around anti-spell if the opponent does have a game 2 or 3 was also, and could also be extremely relevant, because if they just flip it on you and you just don't have a trap card to displace a monster that they have on the field, you could be caught lacking and then your tournament could be over. But hey, I guess my tournament was over anyway, so that theory doesn't really matter. And then played 3 Imperm. I think 3 Imperm was the best choice to go for hand trap. It was a card that could go first or second, just like Super Poly and just like Forbidden Droplet. So I essentially wanted to have no dead cards, no dead non-engine cards in my deck at any point in time. So we're going to move on to the extra deck, because I think that's obviously the most important part of the deck. The double Mirror Jade, double Lubellion. A lot of people think that they can get away with playing one of this card, and I mean, at a point in time I thought I could get away with playing one of this card too, but since you're playing pure Branded Despia in this, there are niche situations where you go Mirror Jade and you Mirror Jade on your opponent's turn because you already have the Branded in red. So you banish a monster that they control, and then you actually end up going Branded in red on their turn after you've used this to grab back Albaz, and then use this as material to with the Fallen of Albaz to make another Lubellion, and then Lubellion's going to end up shuffling Mirror Jade and the Albaz that you just used Branded in red for to special summon another Mirror Jade. So that's going to leave a Lubellion on board. So if you only play one of this and they end up outing it, then you don't have another Lubellion. And then I played Albalanatus. This card, in theory, for the Dragon Link stuff, was really good, especially since the Keeper of Magic can send Fallen of Albaz back to your own field. You can end up contacting those two away to make your own Alba. So this is on board, and then you can use. And then if this leaves the board for any reason, you'll get your Branded Fusion search anyway. And then obviously it's just you can send it off in Mirror Jade 2 to get the hard fusion. Because I played two Albion, so a lot of the times, like if you go to Branded Fusion to make one of these because you don't want to discard a card from your hand, you send the Light, you send the Albaz, and you make this, and then you banish itself off of its own effect to summon the Mirror Jade, and then that leaves you just this in the deck. This in the extra deck to search off of Branded in red, and then you have this as a follow-up to search the Branded Fusion. So if you're going to play 2 of these, you have to play Alba. It's just non-negotiable. And then the 2 Chimera, non-negotiable. Starving Venom. The only reason why Starving Venom was in the extra deck was because cards like Attic Nister, the Boss Monster, Arrivals, and then Bubble Reef for Marincess, and then Psychic End Nightmare. Or Psychic End Punisher, sorry. This card can out all of those cards, or has a chance to outing all of those cards because it gains the attack of the monster and doesn't necessarily affect the monster. And then Dragopistelia, non-negotiable. Skinion, I told you guys if Super Poly is in my deck, I'm going to play this card. And as a matter of fact, in Game 2 of the first round that I did get to play, I did summon this card. So just goes to show that this card, if Super Poly is in the deck, play the card. I played 1 Masquerade because I don't think this card is as powerful as it used to be. I actually think summoning Quarterus is more important to the deck line anyway, to be getting the Albaz out. And almost no situation double Masquerade like turn 1 is gonna stick. A lot of decks will end up shuffling 1 or turn 1 off by like their 4th play, so it just doesn't really matter anyway. And then the Millennium Eyes Restrict. Yeah, this card was really good in testing all week. I would never not play this card. I would never not play this card in this fusion deck, ever. Alright, and then moving on to the side deck. So the side deck was definitely the hardest part of the event, trying to figure out, but we made do with it. I think the only thing that I would change is I would have changed, I'll tell you here in a second, but the 3 Token Collectors, which is funny because Sword Soul did end up winning the event, and as I stated in my last video, I think Sword Soul is super powerful in North America, and it has a high representation. This card will never not be in my side deck as long as Sword Soul is around. I went with double Cosmic Cyclone and triple Twin Twister and Red Reboot for back row removal because of Floodgates. I think Floodgates are Despia's biggest and hardest matchup. And then if you're playing against Fluenderees, you really just want to hit the trap card and the map. So you want to have the highest chance of hitting those cards during the standby phase or draw phase so you can have a chance to play. Because if you just have to deal with the wind barrier monster and the big penguin, as long as you out the map, then you can just normal summon and attack over the wind barrier and then proceed to play. And of course, if you added the map too, so that's why Twin Twister was at 3 over the Cosmic. Deep Barrier, I honestly, looking back, I do like this card, but I think realistically, I would probably should have. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because I didn't go very far in the tournament. I probably would have got rid of this to play another hand trap. I probably would have played Nibiru or Droll. That was probably the correct play, the correct choice to do. And then 3 Summon Limit. I couldn't decide if I want to do there can only be 1 goes in match or Summon Limit, and then it kind of came down to Summon Limit kind of covers everything because if you can just summon 2 monsters a turn and I have a Mirror Jade, it doesn't really matter if you're locked into types or attributes at all. It just doesn't. So I think Summon Limit was crazy. If I would have got to see this card at any point in the tournament, I think it would have just been bonkers. Or sorry, resolving this card, it would have been absolutely insane. My teammate Matthew actually ended up thanking me, I think like round 7 or 8, for telling him that he should be playing Summon Limit because it was just so good. This card was just definitely better than any of those other 2 cards. For Despia specifically. Not for Sword Soul though, because that is definitely how Sword Soul won the event, is with Rivalry of Warlords. And that card is crazy in that deck. So, and there you guys have it. That is the deck list. Kind of just an update of post-nationals. I am a little bit sad because I did put tons of hours into this, and I definitely expected bare minimum to be in the top 64. But on the bright side of that, that just goes to show how great this game can be, because it doesn't matter how much you practice, it doesn't matter how much you test or how much you theory, you can still come up short. And like you would think that's very discerning, but it's not to me. If anything, it just tells me that that's just how much variance the game has, and no matter how good you are at the game or no matter how bad you are at the game, you can definitely find yourself in top cut no matter what, and you can find yourself not in top cut no matter what. So thanks for watching, guys. I don't have really anything else to say. I'm excited for the 2023 season. I do not think my passport's going to be in time for Brazil, and that's super unfortunate for me, but I will see you guys at Canada. For those of you guys that come up to me and say hi and sign a couple of branded cards or Fallen of Albaz, that means a lot to me. And if you guys see me in Niagara, feel free to be friendly, and I'll see you guys there.